This is Pub Politics. We are back for another week. Wes Donahue, our resident Republican, for full disclosure again, working on the Michelle Bachmann presidential campaign in the state of South Carolina. Phil Bailey, resident Democrat, who is working against every Republican in the state of South Carolina.
And enjoying the show that the Republicans are bringing to the state.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk about the upcoming presidential primary. Not necessarily the candidates, but who's going to pay for it. It is now in the state Supreme Court. They had the arguments on Monday. It's basically 4 counties suing, saying that the taxpayers shouldn't have to pay. They're claiming, these counties are, that the taxpayers will have to pay at least $1 million to fund this primary. The state Republican Party, on the other hand, is saying that it's the state's right to run the primary because of language in the budget law, which was passed last year. So both sides getting their arguments on Monday. Wes, since you are a Republican, I'm going to ask you first. Who is right here?
Listen, first of all, let me say, I don't think this is a partisan issue. I think even if there was no Republican primary and if it was a Democratic primary this year, the state should pay for it.
And we should say that Dick Harpootlian did come out and say that he was in agreement with the Republicans.
Yeah,
so it's the Republicans in this case, but you're right, it's not a partisan issue.
We have to make sure that it's the state running these things. This is a public function. Listen, these counties hire taxpayer-funded lobbyists that come up to the State House every day. They're always begging for more money. And the first time we ask them to do something, they start crying. I think it's just the epitome of bureaucracy out of government.
And also, to be clear, it's just 4 counties who are doing this. It's not every county in the state.
Well, the state of South Carolina put in the budget, going back to the 08 presidential primary, where the Democrats had a big one and the Republicans had a big one, put the money in the budget, and it was a state-funded operation. Hoping to repeat that again this year for the Republican primary. The money has already been appropriated for it. I really don't see the big deal that these 4 counties are making.
I was going to say, is this much ado about nothing? I mean, is the average voter sitting at home? I mean, they're going to show up on January 21st and vote. I mean, do they pay attention to stuff like this? Does this matter to them? I mean, the counties are making it about the taxpayer.
Yeah.
Does the taxpayer care?
I think this is government bureaucrats not wanting to work hard.
Well, I'm usually one not to badmouth the election commission. They're the ones
Good point.
They're the ones that count the votes.
Next time he beats me by 10 votes, we'll know why.
No, it's just the money's already been appropriated. It's ready to go. I don't see the big deal in this.
All right, let's talk more Supreme Court. We were just talking about the state Supreme Court. Well, the U.S. Supreme Court has agreed in the spring to hear the case against the Obama Health Care Act, and South Carolina was one of the 26 states that sued, saying that the part requiring people to buy health insurance was unconstitutional. This is going to be interesting because a decision could come, and it's going to be an issue, a 2012 election issue for President Obama, whomever he goes against in November.
Yeah, listen, Republican candidates, almost all of them, except for maybe Mitt Romney, who mandated health care in his state, they all call it unconstitutional, and I think the Supreme Court's going to see that it is unconstitutional. These states are upset that the federal government is trampling on their states' rights, and I think that's what's happening here.
If that happens, if the court rules that it's unconstitutional, even though some parts of this act are already in place, what does that happen, and how would the Democrats then spin it? Because this would be a defeat, I would think, on the surface for the president.
Well, I mean, it would be a major setback, but you got to go back to the history of this. That the individual mandate was something that the conservative think tank, American Enterprise Institute, came up with, and that's something that Newt Gingrich, who's now number 2 in the polls, has been a longtime supporter of. So, let's be careful. The states trampling on states' rights. This is originally a conservative idea, and championed by Mitt Romney in Massachusetts. So, you guys on your side are all over this piece of legislation.
I can't disagree with that point. I've said it numerous times on this show, the problem with the Republican Party is we screwed up, which allowed the Democrats to take back over, and this is one of the things we screwed up on.
All right, well, that's coming up in the spring, so we'll get plenty of time until then. We'll have other things to occupy our time until then. Guys, Pub Politics, the pub version this week?
Tomorrow night, 6 o'clock. Every year we do the college Republicans versus the college Democrats from the University of South Carolina, so we're doing that tomorrow night it'll be our first time at Motor Supply Company over on Gervais Street.
Okay, and that's Wednesday at 6 p.m.
Yep.
And it's pubpoliticslive.com, guys, if you want to check it out on the web if you can't be there in person. Once again, guys, thanks for coming by. Appreciate the time.
Thank you.
All right, we'll see you next week. Back to you.